spent time tonight on the internet searching for a proper definition of transgender and only ended up even more confused. But I have here with me a transgender Nigerian who is going to tell us the correct meaning of, the word, and then perhaps we can begin to appreciate people living with this uniqueness, even better. Yes. Welcome.
Thank you.
To the Lion of Jeddah show.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, tell them, say I'm on the Lion of Jeddah show.
What?
Tell them, say I'm on the Lion of Jeddah show.
I am on the what?
Lion
of Jeddah show.
Not Judah. I'm not Jesus Christ.
Jeddah. Lion of Jeddah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Transgender. Who is transgender?
Let's not glorify this. There's no better way to say it. A transgender person is one assigned a different sexual organ that's different from her birth organ. So safe to say it's a woman with I don't want to use the word. Is it okay to use the word?
Please, this is the Lion of Jeddah show.
It's a woman with a male's genitalia. Let me not be offensive. It's a woman with a male genitalia or a male with a female genitalia. So this person is seen as trans people. Okay.
In your case, how has your family reacted to this uniqueness? Because I want to believe it's been this way from birth.
So, family. It's quite deep. I don't really like to talk family, but because it brings out that emotional part of me. Family is not so encouraging, but we could spare out some persons in the family who actually understands and do not discriminate, because I feel like they already know from the one. Even before I go to understand better, I'm sure they already know. So it's easier for those ones to come around, to just relate with you as normal regardless the uniqueness, but others, you just can't deal with it. It's probably something they know from a distance. Now bringing it close to their door, it's just something they can deal with, and I understand that part with them. So I'm not entirely all on them, oh, you must accept me, you've not accepted and stuff. No, I understand that they also need time to process it, because I also took time to process it myself.
Okay. Are you able to connect with other transgender people around you?
Yes, but not anymore. So I like to be by myself for now.
Okay. You're a private person.
Very much private.
What's the difference though between a transgender and a gay person?
A gay person is a person. Okay, first off, before I even go into that, there's a difference between being gay and being trans. Being gay is what's the word? Being gay is a sexual preference. Being gay is, there's a particular word I'm looking for. It's coming and it's going. But being trans is a gender identity. But being gay is a sexual orientation, and they are two different things. Right? Sexual orientation, it's something you're comfortable doing sexually. Something you're comfortable doing, but being trans is a gender identity, is a gender you identify with. That's how it's called, gender identity.
What's the biggest challenge you've had living as a transgender person in Nigeria? Security.
Security has always been a problem for every trans person, because we are always seen as threats for no reason.
What kind of threat?
Like, so it's just crazy. Okay, from the time of the Second World War, First and Second World War, the white people, I don't want to do this, but I'm getting really pissed and emotional at the same time. The whites use homosexuality as a means of torture for black people at the time. And the word phobia is something that can be transmitted from one person to another. Fear. You could inject your fear into someone else, and then the person will begin to fear the things you fear. Right? So now, because the white people then use it as a means of torture, those people who were being tortured in that way, where they have to go through that kind, it's like downgrading them, degrading them, insulting them, and they don't do this behind closed doors. They do it in the presence of other slaves So these ones, after the war, they now had this fear for such activities. As such, they passed it on to generations coming. That one too passed it, and it kept coming like that. So it is that phobia they have. That's why they see us as a threat. Because some of them feel like, okay, we might want to now bend them over and do things to us. But that's a sick mentality. I'm sorry for the word though. So that's just why they see us as threats, some of them, while others actually see it as a spiritual problem. In fact, most men of God will make you believe that you're cursed. But then I'll be glad to say it's a life we are born into. We just accepted it and decided to live by it. But people don't understand.
Do the anti-gay laws of Nigeria affect trans people?
Directly, no. Indirectly, yes. How does that work? It doesn't say, oh, trans people, when it's not even written there in their bill. So it's not part of it. But the mentality Nigerians have, trans people are also as good as gay people. So if eventually they stumble into a gay person or a trans person, they will do to them what they would do to a gay person. In fact, they will do worse.
To a trans person?
Yes, they will do worse to a trans person, because for those ones on the street, you hear words like, oh, Shebi na you be married, you behave like woman. Oh, now so you want to now and stuff. And before you know, violence has popped up. Before you know, she's receiving either verbal assault or she's even being physical with, where they get to lynch her, pull her by the hair, undress her and strip her on the street and stuff. So the law does not apply to trans people directly, but indirectly it does.
Have you been able to find support from organizations and bodies abroad?
I would rather want to skip that part because it's deeper than just a question.
Okay. So I want to know, would you rather leave Nigeria to feel secure, or would you stay and fight for the right of trans people in this country?
Okay, you cannot save yourself until, you cannot save others until you're saved first. So if I get a chance to leave here, of course I would leave to save myself first before I could want to save others. Because as it stands right now, both myself and the others are not safe. So if I get a chance to leave here, I'll be glad to take it with 2 hands and 2 legs open. So yes, I would want to leave.
I'm curious.
Why though?
How do you have sex?
Woo, that's personal. I'd like to fast. Thank you.
Personal.
But you could look it up on Pornhub.
Yeah, I don't think that all trans people have the same sexual orientation.
Oh, beautiful. That's true. So in the trans community, you have the trans lesbians, the trans heterosexuals, the trans gay, and the trans bisexual. So already we know what these words are. So just relate it to a trans person. So a trans person could transition from being a male to a female and still want to be with females. That makes her a trans lesbian because she's now interested in females. So a trans person could transition from being a female to a male and still want to be with males. That makes him a transgender gay. And that's how the cycle goes. So in the trans community, it's almost like the heterosexual community, where you have the gay, the lesbians, the bisexuals, heterosexuals, pansexuals, and all. That's how it is also with the trans community.
In recent times, there's been this controversy surrounding Chimamanda Adichie's comment, that, or rather her position, that transgender people are transgender people, especially women, because she was being asked, would you consider a transgender woman a woman? And she said she considers trans people as trans people. And then, of course, the community went wild and crazy.
Of course.
But why? Why would anybody have a problem with that statement? Why do you think people,
Yes, when you say you see trans people as just trans people, it means we don't have an identifier. What do we identify as?
As trans
we either
people.
Identify as females or we identify as males. That's the reason why you would, in fact, if you ask me personally, I don't really like to say, oh, transgender female or transgender male. I don't even want to make use of the word trans anymore, transgender anymore. So it's either she's a male, she's a female rather, or he's a male. That's simple. So if she has that clause to her sentence, which of course even a dumb person will understand what she's trying to say. It's sentimental. So she's not welcoming to the idea that people like us actually exist. That's what I can say.
No. I don't agree. But I look at it this way. There's a unique identifier. You are, in terms of complexion-wise, you are to the sexes, to gender, what we call the mixed race. In Nigeria, I say half caste, for instance, a unique combination. Good. Now, how can one say you are male or female when you are a combination of two things? Because sometimes it gets confusing. I feel that it's part of why even the definitions on Google could be confusing as well. But somehow, because everybody seems oversensitive at this point in time, people find it difficult or fearsome to talk about these things in the way they truly feel in their hearts. Because, for instance, trans men coming into women's sports tend to have an advantage, which can be considered unfair in a lot of ways. For instance, a trans male coming into female kickboxing would literally kill a female, athlete. Trans male, athlete, runner, sprinter, for instance, would naturally be faster than a female sprinter. So if someone is uniquely created with a combination such as this, how can you blame people who say, look, let's identify these people by their unique marker? Why should it be considered derogatory? I'm asking you.
Okay, so I don't find the marker necessary. So let's go by the example you give where a trans male goes into the circle of female.
Why don't you find the marker necessary? Because women are called women because there's a marker. Men are called men because there's a marker.
There are only basically, for some persons, I think there are about 5 different genders. But personally, I would say there's just no point identifying with the marker. Why? Because of the stigma that is attached to it. So if you ask me, I would want to identify with the female gender because that's the gender I identify with. So the whole trans tag, which is the marker, is not really necessary. I can't walk past you and then you'll be like, okay, I think this one is trans or something. There is no such thing as being a woman. So for me, if you ask me, I think I've grown past that level where I'd want to identify as, trans people come this way, trans women come this way, and cisgender come this way. Well, I joined the cisgender because I still feel or see myself as a cisgender woman. Basically, this is not a choice. Do you get? Now, that is the part where it's even more painful.
Do you think it's better to deal with the issue of discrimination while still being able to call this what it is? Because if the problem is discrimination, if that's why we are running away from unique markers, because there's something that I notice. A short person can say to a tall person, look at you, you're so tall, and it's okay. A tall person says to a short person, why are you so short? It's a problem. Do you think that it's the same scenario playing out? Do you think that people are being overly sensitive because, and thereby forcing every other person to political correctness? Do you think also that this political correctness changes the reality, even if people, for fear of being attacked, or cyberbullied, refrain from speaking how they feel exactly in their minds about these things?
Right. So when you tell a person who is short that why are you so short, or see how short you look,
or you are short,
they feel like it's a weakness for them. Mind you, not all of them will feel insulted because they already know they are short. They've come to terms with it. And if you tell them any day, anytime, they see it as, it's one of the things.
So if you can look at me and say, you're a man, and I said, and it's cool because I'm a man. If I looked at you and say you are transgender, would you feel hurt?
No, I wouldn't feel hurt. I'm not supposed to feel hurt. I would just have to pick the hurt from the context it's coming from.
That's the point. Why should there be a context? When you say to me, I'm a man, the only thing I'm saying is you identify whatever markers that you know. So why try to apply any kind of context if I say to you, you know, this is your gender?
You're supposed to ascribe me to what you see, and there is no placard on my face that says she's trans. So you're supposed to identify me based on the marker you see.
But you said we should ignore markers. At the same time, you said that there are 5 genders.
Yes, I've not really looked into the 5 genders. I only saw it briefly while I was reading through something, and it was some kind of cumbersome for me, so I left that. So what I'm saying is, when you see me in person, I'm not trying to contradict myself. When you see me in person, what do you see? You could ascribe me to what you see, not what you think you know. So probably you know that I'm trans, which is okay. But you coming out to now state it in my face feels like this is you trying to be funny about your words. So funny for me, I wouldn't take it, because I'll just kind of feel like, okay, this one is trying to taunt me with it. Just say what you see. If you see me looking like a dude and you tell me that, oh, you're a dude, that's fine. But I will still feel hurt because I know I'm a female and then you're ascribing me to a male. So it's disturbing, right? So just ascribe me to what you see. That's why I don't want still, personally, I'm not talking for everybody. Personally, I don't want the markers involved. Just call me what you see. So any day, anytime, this is what you will see. So call me what you see, except if you're looking for trouble.
You don't want to look for that trouble, trust me. Some of the fiercest groups of persons in the world. Well, here we have it. It's been an absolute pleasure. I wish we had more time. And trust me, we're going to devote an entire episode again to this issue. Okay. Some of the questions I've asked you is me pushing you to provide answers, you know, for people, the ignorant, to learn. You know, we are not judgmental. You know, I'm a very, very neutral umpire. Yeah, but you see, even here in Nigeria, even among the educated, including myself, most people are still coming to terms with this reality.
Very true.
I can only imagine what happens in places like Akwa Ibom State, where there's this regularity of, you know, some quack pastors, you know, attributing everything to witchcraft and having parents send their own children to evil forests to go and die, you know, and all of that. With nobody to speak for them. They themselves do not even have an understanding of what is happening to them. You know, how many of them are in evil forests around Nigeria?
Okay, this is actually very an emotional one, because just like the time Mary Slessor was helping out with, I think she was fighting against what's it called, the killing of twin. Truth is, trans people will die, right? Before we get to that point where people now look at trans people and then don't even feel anything, some trans people would have to die. It's just the bitter truth. I don't pray it happens to anyone, but it's something we cannot really deal with presently until we eventually evolve to that state. Some years ago, a trans person was killed and buried in a house in a shallow grave.
Wow.
Yeah. Some time ago, I think 2 years ago, one was stripped. You see how human beings are wicked. I'm still coming back to your question about the killing on, you see, dropping them in the evil forest and stuff. I'll tell you how it goes. For that to change, people would have to die. And the truth is, every other day that women put to bed, we have one trans person being born. Because of our uniqueness, it's not something that is rampant that you go to everywhere or anywhere and then you stumble into. Just the same way geniuses are not just found just like that. That's how we also are. Yeah? So before we get to that point where people will now look at us and be like, okay, it's all right. She's beautiful, or he's handsome. I could be with this person. A lot of us will have to die before we get to that point. It's a struggle. So for those children who are being victimized, I would rather use the word victimized, because they become victim of circumstances, something beyond them, something they didn't plan for. It was a life they were born into that is not their fault, because first off, we didn't even choose. Nobody asked us if we want to be born. they bore us, and then we came out like this. So why do you want to do to us the things you do to us because you feel we are different from the regular thing you feel is normal for you? That's crazy. So if I have to talk about those people, it has to go from grassroots. A whole lot of sensitization has to be done. The same way people cannot even differentiate between a transgender person and a gay person. It's crazy like that. It's crazy like that. For a trans person, it's an entire life. It's something you just find yourself in, then you go on with it. But for a gay person, it's just sexual preference.
This brings me to a point. Sorry to cut you.
Okay.
For all the documented hate against, gay people and all of that, or people living with this uniqueness, various kinds of uniqueness, it's a little bit ironic, don't you think, that in recent times, a lot of the hate coming the way of transgender persons like yourself is not coming from heterosexuals, but from gay people.
How did that even get to you? It's really surprising. But yes, that's really the truth. The hate trans people get are actually from the community, not even from heterosexual people. Now you get to discover that the community will get to set you up with an heterosexual person who has no interest in doing that to you. Funny enough, I think the heterosexual persons are even more liberal than the community we came out from. So once a gay person notices you are this, okay, 2 years ago, December, that was in 2019, no, 2020, on this December, some community members invited 2 of these leaders for a sit-out. Of course, it's festive period. Everybody wants to gyrate and all of that. And because they were from the same community, they didn't even ask so much questions. There was no, suspiciousness. There were just nothing. So they innocently went. And what happened? The next thing was, no, me phone. Give me that phone. Give me this. Your purse, your ATM, or that. And the girls, out of fear and with survival instinct, they left those things and ran for their lives. Who did this thing to them? Same community members. So it's even crazy. So if we are even talking out for the sensitization, from grassroots to grassroots to grassroots, it has to start with the community itself, because the most hate comes from the community. That's really disturbing. Okay,
so you've heard there's some aspects about life where you have no choice. Just like every human being had no say in their creation, people living with this uniqueness have no choice in the matter. You tell a guy after separation, get out with your small dick. He had no choice in the matter. Big dick, no choice. You're born a tall girl, no choice.
No choice. No choice.
You're born trans, not a choice at all. And so we have to begin to pay better attention to these issues in Nigeria and make sure that every single citizen of Nigeria, no matter the uniqueness surrounding their birth, are treated equally, treated with equity, and afforded the same right as every other person. No Nigerian is more Nigerian than the other.
Any Nigerian.
Right? I salute your courage, for speaking with us, and I hope that going forward, that this be the beginning, of better awareness and education, for all of us.
For all of us.
Yes, because I am guilty as every other Nigerian. We have not done enough. We have not spoken up enough. And even now, if not because of the the attention span, limited attention span of viewers, most times, I would have said, let this interview go on for 2 hours, 3 hours, if need be. But we will continue to do this in parts, so that will bring better information to the people, better awareness. And who knows, we can take it offline at some point, and go into places like Akwa Ibom State, for better awareness. Where those evil forests are, we enter. I'm the land of Jada, and the land is the king of the jungle. I will enter the evil forest and come out. I'll carry police with all. And they fear for night.
I'll be glad to come here again to share from my little knowledge. I'll be glad to, if it will help one or two to change their views about this particular topic, I'll be glad to.
It's okay.
I know this piece of information I'm giving out is going to put me on the line, but then again, there's no better way to go about it. There's just no better way to go about it.
So sad.
Really sad. Now I want to cry.
No, don't cry. Now I'll buy a chewing gum for you.
No, I like Toblerones chocolate precisely.
Chocolate. In a meal, buy chocolate for you. If you come, they go. Don't do.
All right, thank you.
Say bye to our viewers now.
Oh, see me, don't they come out white already? Bye. It's nice having you people on the show.
Yeah.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Bye.